Welcome to the first episode of Motional Intelligence. It feels so strange sitting here and introducing a new branded podcast. Obviously, as we know, I did announce it on my Instagram and socials the other week that I've rebranded from Proddy C back to my actual name. It took me a while to come up with that one, my actual name. But this is the new name for the pod. I'm really happy with it. I feel like it encompasses everything that I'm trying to achieve with this podcast. Bring conversations with motion-based creators. Obviously, I say motion-based creators. That feels a bit weird, but creators that have a story, whether it's in the fitness space, whether it's in the kind of lifestyle space, people that are trying to make a difference and not only bettering themselves, but bettering the people that follow them and consume their content as well. So that's the point of this pod. That's why I've brought it to you. And that's why I've been so keen to bring it back into its new home. So yeah, I'd like to welcome my first guest of the new era, Mr. Jonny Davies. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me on. First guest of a new podcast.
I know.
It's also quite strange because I've known you for, a couple of years now?
Yeah.
I only know you as Proddy.
I know.
It's weird. Calum is. I don't see you as a Calum.
So many people didn't realise what my name was.
Yeah.
It's mental. I was like, but it says it on my Insta, but I guess you wouldn't think about it. Like for example, obviously I'm not going to say his actual name, but Schooner, he's got a normal name.
Yeah.
But people call him Schooner.
I find it weird calling him by his normal name.
I know.
It's not. It's I like an alias. I need to come up with an alias myself.
Nah, I don't think you do, man.
Really?
You've got your own brand.
This is true. Jonny
and that's
Davies.
you.
Yeah, I like that. JD. Jonny Davies. JD.
JD's nice.
JD flows.
Yeah.
A lot of things are called JD. Jammy Dodgers, Jack Daniels, JD Sports. A lot of things. It's like it's a good set of
I've
initials.
never called Jammy Dodgers JD.
It's on the Jammy Dodger. Look at it. It says J. There's an initial on there.
Oh, where the jam is.
Literally, no, just below it. There's a little heart thing, and there's JD.
All right.
I always noticed as a kid. I was like, I generally used to think, I was like, that's cool. They put my initials on it, and then someone was like, it's because they're called Jammy Dodgers, you idiot.
Oh, you thought it was personalised biscuits?
I thought they're personalised biscuits. Yeah. Well, if you saw your initials somewhere, you'd assume that was the case.
No, for sure. I completely get it. I understand.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I was like, damn, I'm special. You're like, you're not special. You've just got the tism. A little bit. It's just biscuits aren't personalised to you.
No, but I just realised, mate, I do apologise. Well, it's actually quite comfortable, but I bought these chairs. I didn't realise they're swivel chairs. So I feel like this could be an absolute nightmare. Like if you ever get bored during this pod, mate, you can just shut off to the conversation like this. But no,
when we get serious, we just turn in and be like,
yeah, we can start playing footsie.
I would like that. You want to make you with the state of my feet right now, you definitely don't want to play footsie.
Well, look, let's go straight into it, bro. Because obviously, as we said, we've known each other. Well, I first met you when you were doing the Victoria Line run. I came and joined you along with like 30 other people.
Day 2 of Run the Line. Ran the entire London Underground.
Mate, that was my first experience of like being involved with content creators challenge or you know kind of mission or something, and it was a complete alien thing for me, and I was so new into the kind of fitness space at that point. Like, I wasn't really making fitness content. I was on my own journey trying to lose weight, but also making the odd TikTok here and there, day in the lives, all that sort of stuff. And I saw what you were doing and I was so inspired by it, man. And I was like, this is incredible. The fact that you're harnessing this community together and bringing all of these people to one spot to join you for a 26k run down the tube line.
That was class.
So sick.
It's just such a sick day. I mean, that was like, I remember that was like the nicest day of the challenge because day before was like an 85k day. And so it was just a case of like high day, low day. And the Victoria Line was class because my cousins came through, all my mates were there. Yeah. It was also one of those days that it was one of the shortest days to run. So it was done in like a couple of hours. Yeah. And that was great. Whereas the other days I'd be out there for like 12, 14 hours of running.
Yeah, it's a long old time, man.
Long old time.
Wasn't the Met Line was ridiculously long, wasn't it?
Met Line, it goes out to like
85k or something, wasn't it?
Around that, yeah. It goes right the way out. Met Line, it's cheeky to call it the London Underground because none of it's underground and none of it's in London. It goes all the way out to like Chesham and Amersham, which is countryside. You're past the M25 by a way.
You dodged a bullet not doing the overground.
Doesn't count as the London Underground. I checked the rules of this and there.
I know. There are some parts of it that very much go underground, but I understand that
some trains do go underground. Doesn't mean it's the underground.
I feel like if someone's like a proper old school listener of this pod, because a lot of people don't realise this, my pod actually used to be paywalled. And when I had you on, it was in the days of it being paywalled.
Oh, no way. Yeah.
We had a few clips that went out that did quite well.
Yeah.
But it was an interesting one because so many people messaged me saying, got to get Jonny Davies on your podcast. And I was like, I've literally had him on. And I want him on again. But also, I wish I could just say, yep, I've had him on. Go listen to this episode 1. Yeah. But it was just before you were about to run the Capitals.
Yeah.
So you were gearing up to your second big challenge. How was that, mate? Obviously,
horrific.
That was a while ago now.
Last September. That was terrible.
Really?
It was awful. it was obviously great to run the distance. For those who don't know, run the capitals. I became the first person to run to all of the capital cities in the United Kingdom and Ireland. So Edinburgh to Belfast to Dublin to Cardiff to London. So 960 kilometres, and I did it in 11 days, 12 hours, 25 minutes.
Whoa.
And that was like, I trained for 6 months to do the whole thing.
You trained like a beast, bro. I remember.
It was like the hardest training walk I've ever done. Like physically demanding. Took so much for me to do it. And then day one was 105 kilometers. And at the end of day one, I had a little pinch on my top of my ankle, and I had this thing called tenosynovitis, which is like the membrane around your tendon gets inflamed. And basically, what it meant was the whole of my foot swelled to the point that I no longer could lift up my foot. So
and that was on day 2?
End of day 1.
Oh my God.
So from that point onwards, it was every step was agony. We had to basically lock the foot in position using strapping. So I could no longer bend. I could no longer push because I didn't have the power to lift my foot upwards like this. So we had to lock it in that position, and that was it. So I no longer could push off. So basically it just meant that the whole thing was wholeheartedly unenjoyable. The most amount of suffering I've ever done. The good thing from it is I didn't quit.
Yep.
I didn't have any lasting damage. And it like just hardened my resolve to be able to do things. Whenever I tap into that now, I was thinking nothing I'll ever do in life will be harder than that. Ever. But during it was fucking awful. Like, I can't explain just how, like, it took me a while to even speak about it because I didn't want to talk about it. It was that much of a negative experience of putting myself through that.
Yeah.
Because also when enough people like supporting it, helping with raising money for it, donating for it.
Because you were raising money for Calum, weren't you?
Yeah, we raised like 50 grand for Calum, which is awesome.
Unreal.
And like, there were so many people coming through for it. With the like, we did like a launch event in London. A load of people came through. We did a shakeout run in Edinburgh the night before. Like 300 people came to it. There were so many people supporting me, believing me to do it. And for me, at the end of day one, to have an issue like arise like that, it was like the pressure on me to keep. And obviously, I'm not someone who likes to quit things easily, but that was a point of like,
yeah.
So we were running for 85k a day on average.
Mate, that's insane.
Which is
and
two
also when you kind of realise, obviously, you have this niggle at the start, and it's not just a niggle. It's going to be like a sort of challenge, not ending, but it potentially has that chance to be. What's going through your mind? Like, how do you overcome that?
Honestly, it was just a case of luck. I was blessed by having the great team. Adrian, my physio from the running room.
Yeah.
Tommy Trees, my run coach.
Was Tommy with you as well?
Yeah, he was with me the whole way through. And Adrian, he did everything he possibly could. Like we had a doctor fly out to Belfast to meet us to scan my. We're using an ultrasound to scan to see. We didn't know what the problem was. Doctor scanned it, and he was like, "The tendon's fine. It's just the membrane around the tendon has got really inflamed."
Okay.
So technically, you can keep going on it. He's like, "But I would recommend you don't stop." And I was like,
"Well, I can't stop."
I was like, "Well, this is like the end of day one." Was that across the whole length of Scotland and down to like Stranraer, then ferry across. Then day 2, 3 was like Belfast to Dublin, and he met us in Belfast. So I started to run all the way to Dublin, cross, run the whole length of Wales, then run Cardiff to London. And I was like, we can't really stop now after 2 days. So I just said I'll give it a go. And like, every day was a case of like, let's just see what happens, and like strapping the hell out of it. The problem is the knock-on effect happens when you're overcompensating other areas. So all of a sudden, my left hip is overcompensating by throwing my legs through. That changed how my complete style of running had to change, and so it was one of those things that just it made everything so much worse. And like by the end of it, I was my usual shoe size like a size 13. Yeah. By the end of it, I was wearing a size 15 because my feet were so inflamed.
Did they even make size 15 shoes? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, but we had to start cutting shoes to like so my feet could like spread out a bit more. Like the feet were so swollen as just a result of that as an issue. And then the knock-on effect was my other leg was overcompensating for it. So that started swelling as well.
Yeah, this is a lot of... I've learned this in the last year or so. Well, I say last year. Literally this marathon block, I learned this. I feel like I'm taking these bits of information from stories like yourself, hearing them, and learning about the physiology of my own body.
Yeah.
And overcompensation is something I never even thought about. Yeah. And how, like, when you have an injury that you're actively thinking about and you're kind of changing your running style as a result of it, that's obviously going to impact other areas.
100%.
Like, I wouldn't have thought that you'd say, okay, my tendon is inflamed. Okay. I wouldn't think, well, his hip's now going to be fucked because of it. But that's just an obvious thing for a physio to go, well, you need to watch your hip.
Yeah. 100%. It's always the reverse thing. So they say you need to be within a 5% asymmetry between right and left leg. So that's coming down from like ground contact time. So how many milliseconds do your feet touch the ground for? They need to be within 5% of each other at that time. like outputs on different legs, like angles. Everything has to be within 5%. It's more or less the guide for asymmetry. Anything more than 5%, you're then one leg's doing more work than the other. There's more pressure one side, and that then leads to an injury. So most people get injured from running, not because a lot of time they're doing too much, but most of the time it's about form issue or lacking strength. It's literally because your legs are different, are at different positions of strength. And that's why training single leg exercise is really important for running. You're also training more stability, which is really important for running, because running is a single leg exercise done just thousands of times over. But it's really important to make sure that both legs are just as strong as each other, can produce just as much force as each other. And like working out, is there a difference in strength between legs? Most of us have one leg that's a little bit stronger than the other. Same when you play football. You've got a dominant leg, whatever leg you're footed with. Chances are that leg's going to be a bit more, you use it more. So it's making sure you give as much attention to your legs. If you train everything, not single legs, train both legs at the same time, one leg's still doing a little bit more work. That's why you have to train them separately and single. That's kind of the only main difference in like training your legs as a runner, is just making sure you do train them single leg, dual leg as well, but like put a bit of emphasis on that. And so so as soon as that happened, I was like, we had to change everything up, and that caused a knock-on effect. It took me about 6 months to recover from the hip side.
Was there a moment where it happened? Did you feel it go? Like, was it just an accumulation?
Past the 100k point on day one, I was laughing how I was like, smashed it 100k day one, let's go. Like I was prepped to do. Originally, I wanted to do 100k a day for the whole challenge, and then that happened. I'm like,
can't
shit. And it was like, okay, how many hours in a day are there that I can be awake and running for? And I'm just going to try and be, as long as I'm moving, I don't have to be running, even if I'm walking. Like, that was the thing. I also felt a bit ashamed. I was like, I can't even like run anywhere near the pace I wanted to do this at.
Did you have a target pace? It was like 6 something, wasn't it?
As long as I hit 6:30s, I'm happy. Because that means I can hit 100k a day.
Because we worked it out on the pod.
Yeah.
What the speed that you needed to do it within 10 days, wasn't it? That you wanted to do it initially.
That was originally the plan. Yeah. And so if I hit at 6:30s, that amount of time per day, we had it, like the strategy was so nailed on and the training was so nailed on for it, and the simulation weeks and the testing weeks, and the end of day one, everything's out the window. Yeah. And it's like, I'm laying there in like the RV bed being like, shit, and let's just pray this feels better tomorrow.
Do you get emotional at that point when it like, or were you just kind of drained of any thought or feeling?
When you're doing a big challenge like that, the last thing you are is emotional about it.
Really?
Because it's so much wasted energy. It's like, right, we're in it now. We can be emotional about this afterwards. We can be upset about it afterwards. But right now, we've got to deal with this here and now. And not to mention the team I had, they all made a bit of a deal to themselves to not be
stressed,
not feed into any. If I'm feeling sorry for myself or get a bit like, oh, this is well hard, not to feed me into that. So they all had to be like quite like a bit distant emotionally with me, which is what they agreed upon is the way to get through. And I needed that, because if I start feeling sorry for myself about all being banged up and maybe I want to cut the day a bit short or this and that, and they start being like, oh, it's all right. It's like, no, we want to try and go out and achieve something, set like the fastest time for this, which we still did. I'm moaning about, like, no one's ever run that. I mean, no one's done it before, but we've technically set the fastest time for that.
Sure, man.
So, not that it's like a well-run route or anything, but it's still like the idea of like going out and setting yourself a high standard for something and then executing on that. Whether or not you hit that, neither here nor there. It's like we set the standard. The result we got was still phenomenal. Now I can look back in reflection and be like, yeah, it's a pretty mental thing to do, run 960 kilometers in 11 days. Maybe not 10, but still that's a silly distance to run. I'm well aware of that. But that's what happens. You know, as long as you set a high standard for yourself, even if you fall short, you still get to achieve something great.
Yeah. When you kind of set yourself that high standard, we spoke about it last time. We were saying about, are you kind of worried about upping the level each time to the point where it becomes unrealistic? Because it seems to me that challenge, you did it and you're like, I'm really happy with what I've done there. And it hasn't seemed like since, obviously you've got to take some time to kind of really sort of hone in on your ability and like who you are as a runner. But it seems to me like that set a kind of level of contentment for you, almost like as a viewer, I look to him and go, that is an incredible achievement. And he has just done something. He's able to sit with it and like have pride in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a lot of people that do a big challenge and then they'll just go and be like, right, what's the next thing?
100%. I think that almost takes away from the sense of achievement you have within it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's one thing I've always struggled with is taking pride in the things I've done. I think it's what a lot of people struggle with, is being able to sit there and be like, I'm actually proud of what I've done.
It's a world of comparison, mate. It's impossible to
100%.
sit happy with your own achievements. Sometimes.
100%. Like, I was having a chat. Someone messaged me last night actually, and they were talking about how they're finding it really tough because they just run a marathon, their first marathon, and they're really struggling because they're a bit banged up at the moment, a bit injured. And like they're dealing with like the fatigue from the training, all this sort of stuff there. And she was saying how like she's really, really struggling at the moment because she's looking at all these amazing things people are doing, all this sort of stuff there. And I was just be like, you didn't run 2 years ago. Last year you properly started running, and then this year you're on your first marathon. Like, let's take a step back for a second. You've gone from not, and also a couple of years before that, she was like, never really trained either. So look at where you've gone. Look at where you started. Like, let's zoom out a little bit. And because she kept saying what other people are achieving, was like, fuck what other people are doing. Look at where you've gone in life. You've gone from year 1 to year 2 to year 3. Zoom out. Every year you've gotten better at something. You've progressed at something. You've gotten fitter, healthier, happier. Like, don't rob yourself of the joy of your hard work. Like, it's such a thing. And again, I have to remind myself of this because you can get caught up in me like, well, I've done this thing, but someone else, like, there's always someone else who's done something amazing thing. Like, be proud of the work you put in and know that you've taken something from that. There's a lesson in that. There's an experience you've got, and don't rob yourself of the joy of that, because I think it's so easy to do. And by going to, well, what's the next thing immediately after, and not sitting with that being like, you know what, I'm really proud of my effort. That took a lot out of me to do, and really understand what it meant. I think a lot of people can use challenges or going from race to race to race. You've probably seen it on social media. I've raced this marathon now I race this marathon here. It loses meaning because all you're doing is distracting yourself. You know how hard it is to train for a marathon. Yeah. It takes up a lot of your life. I mean, it can become your whole personality, and it's all you talk about, but like, it becomes the primary thing on in your life at that moment. Like, it requires you to be so committed to that thing, and that's a great thing to do.
And that's why it becomes the personality, because you have to have that level of commitment in your life and 100%. Make changes to your life.
But the problem is, you can't then just go finish a marathon and go, all right, I want to train for another one now. It's like, whoa, hang a minute. Like, there's other parts of life you've got to deal with as well.
For sure.
Like, your relationships, your friendships, like your career, whatever these things are you want to achieve on, or other parts of your health and fitness. Like, I don't think it's the healthiest thing in the world to go marathon to marathon to marathon. I've seen people run 3-4 marathons. I don't think that's a particularly healthy thing to do, because, like, you know, your body, the marathon itself isn't the thing that's hard. It's the training block that comes on with it.
I think it's always good to remember, as you said, the why. Yeah. And it's like, for me, I always think about why I start training for stuff, and the reason as to why I will tick that box to sign up to an event and accept an offer and all of this sort of stuff. And for me, it's accountability and improvement. And for me, the mental clarity and like sort of almost change I've felt in my life as a result of having a goal in the calendar, it gives me this amazing sense of clarity day to day. And if I don't have it, I notice my mental health slipping massively. And like, obviously for me, I'm in a kind of headspace where I'm making content about it all, and I'm like, am I putting across a bad representation of fitness and, you know, achievements and all of this sort of stuff? Because I'm kind of going against what a lot of people are now complaining about, as you just said, doing these events and constantly doing marathons. Like, I've got a marathon later in the year, and I would have done 3 this year. And that is an insane amount, and that's probably to a lot of people a completely stupid thing to do. But for me, it's like, right, I would never have done that before.
Sure.
But I'm also thinking the reason I'm doing it is because it gives me clarity mentally, which then helps me improve my life day to day.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, but also you did, like, each of those marathons you did, like, one, you paced Izzy for one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
So you didn't exactly do there wasn't like a separate 16-week block where you were pushing yourself constantly. It's like, Paris was your big one.
Yeah.
We got the PB.
Yeah.
With Jake didn't pace you.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And then you trained hard for that.
Yeah.
Then you got the other one. Then the London just
was a fun run.
Fun run. Cool.
But you can't fun run a marathon.
No. It's still hard, but it's not like running a marathon for like at pace. You do the whole. It also, just context, running a marathon is hard. Training for a marathon is harder.
Yes.
16 weeks of consistent training, of disciplined training, where you're running 5-6 times a week, and you can't really do anything else. That is a lot harder than running the marathon itself. That's why it's more valuable. I digress.
That's why they call it the victory lap.
There we go.
Yeah.
But then the one you got later this year, for that you'll do a full training block for that.
Yeah,
that's cool. Then
I'll do a 10-week block for that.
That's 2 big blocks you're doing for it. That's great in there. And like the other ones around it are like the one with Izzy. That's fun as well. There.
Yeah.
But if say for example you did 4 and you did hard training blocks for all of them, it doesn't leave you much space to do anything else. Or it doesn't leave you much space to, like, it's always good to, I don't know, it's always good to be chasing a goal down.
Yeah.
For the sake of like, because you know what it's going to make of you to achieve that, and you understand it. Whereas if you were just doing like something another race, next race, like, and just perpetually living this cycle of like signing up to races, it can become meaningless.
Absolutely.
I think it's the most important thing. That's why the why is very important. And it's, you know, if you're going through a bit of a tough period in life, you know, signing up to something that can be a good distraction, that's a great thing to do, but it's not. Can be a bit of a temporary solution. It's not a permanent thing of like, right, I'm just going to keep training and racing for marathons again and again and again and again, like, and actually not dealing with whatever issues you're dealing with. Everyone in the world has got something wrong with that standard, but I also think that certain people who are conditioned so well and have been running for so many years, who, you know, ran cross country at school and then got into distance running early, just have this thing where it's such a normality to them. Not saying it's not hard for them, because it's very hard to them, but I think they have this ability to, like, I'll use my coaching example. Like, he goes to Glastonbury every year and he recovers from Glastonbury by running a hard 30K run. The day after 4 days at Glastonbury.
No, but I like that though, because Tommy's quite open on his socials about the fact that he parties and he likes a beer.
I love that. There's no chance in hell after I go.
Same with Josh Jogs, by the way. He does it as well. He's very transparent about it. It's good to have balance.
Absolutely. I don't think there's anything wrong with people like that. I think it's individual. I think there are some people who run with a much more positive attitude. I think there's some people who maybe use running as a bit of a mask.
Yeah.
But also maybe it starts as a temporary thing. Maybe you get into running to distract yourself from something, but then over time it progresses into not you running away from something, but running to a more positive thing. Mm-hmm. Running just the vehicle to express yourself or to distract yourself from maybe a really shitty period in life. Maybe you're going through a breakup and you need to just distract yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing to get yourself into, because it's good for the mind, it's good for the body, it's good for the heart, it's good for everything. I think it's a wonderful thing to do, and it can be quite distracting, especially when you're maybe not feeling too great about yourself, and it's a way to achieve something that gives you that feeling of like, oh, I did that. Like, okay, that's pretty cool. And like building yourself up again. And eventually it's no longer a distraction. It can then be a case of, you know, maybe use it as a time to have that deep reflection to deal with your own issues. But I also know some runners who are the most unhinged people who are not dealing with their own emotional issues.
Hugo Fry,
rise and repeat.
He went on a 42K run this morning for World Running Day. He needs help.
That man needs help. Do you know he does have a coach?
No, I know. He's insane.
I first met him, my very first ultramarathon race.
He told me about this.
Thames Bath, 100K.
Yeah.
I didn't know who it was, and I remember I was at the 75K checkpoint, and I looked at my... weirdly enough, I just flicked on... I was having like a 5-minute thing, and I just flicked on my phone to distract myself because I was going through it, and his Strava had popped up. He'd won the whole thing. He ran like a 5:25 kilometer pace for 100K, won the whole event. I was 25K from the finish line, and I saw that, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
Were you running it on your own or something? Or were you in a group?
No, I was running my own.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's hellish. That is absolutely hellish.
I was like, I've got so far to go, and my legs are so... The first time I ever ran 100K as well.
Yeah.
I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Whenever I've gone anywhere in the world running, I'll run into that boy on flights in different places. Yeah. For those who don't know Hugo Fry is an excellent runner, but he's one of the most unhinged individuals I've ever met.
He's actually coming on this pod.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've got him booked in for Friday.
Class.
Yeah,
great bloke.
He is funny, and there's a lot of questions about that man's law.
Yeah.
But obviously, back to your law. So when you came on last, you made a clip. Well, I made a clip of you saying something, which kind of pricked a few people's ears up.
Yeah.
You spoke about life balance, and you said that you can't focus on fitness, career, and relationships all in tandem.
Yeah, I got this originally from James Smith PT, shout out, great guy. I saw him, he talked about this years ago. It's the triangle. Mm-hmm. Career at one side, fitness the other side, and then romantic relationships the other side there. At any given time, you can have two of those things at like a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
You can have the other one at like maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are like, I want my life where I want my relationship, my missus to be fantastic. I want my career, my business to be flying, and I also want to be in fantastic shape, physically, look great, all that sort of stuff. Like you cannot have all three at the same time.
Yeah.
I know I pricked a lot of people up the wrong way. I'll put it out here. Most people are idiots. Like, generally speaking, it's a really... I read through the comments there, and I was like, so many people missed the boat on this one. They were like, well, what about David Beckham? His career and his fitness are the same thing.
And he also...
cheated on his missus. Like, what? So it's more a case of, like, the triangle thing is basically just to indicate, like, you can have... It's basically to say, you can have anything you want, you just can't have everything you want at that exact time. So it's a case of, like, you're not... If you don't say you're... smashing your career and you're training really hard, but you don't have a missus. Okay, that's fine. You're not losing out on anything. You're just in a stage of life where you're focusing on other things at the time being. I think talking back earlier, we talked about this FOMO thing or looking at what other people have that you don't have. We always focus on things we don't have, rather than the things we do have. You know, our physical health, our careers, really important factors. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe you've got a fantastic relationship and a really great job, but you're not in particularly good shape. That's also fine as well. You've got two most amazing things there. Yeah. Focus on getting one. Then focus on getting the other one, and then understand that, like, to get the third one, you may need to pull back a bit from other things. You know, if you're smashing out 4 marathons a year and you're working really hard at work, it might be a case that you probably don't have the most successful relationship in the world there. Like one of my best mates, Joe, he just had a kid. And I'm challenging because he's been training and running marathons the last few years. I said to him, "Oh, what were you going to race?" He's like, "I'm not." He's like, "I've just had a kid." I was like, "Well, yeah, but like, you know," he's like, "No, that's quite a selfish thing for me to do is to train for a marathon and race a marathon." He's like, "That's not where my priorities are at the moment." And I thought it was a really sensible thing to do because I was just like, "Oh, well, you know, kids in now, like, because you just like, you know, go out for a run with a kid." Turns out you can't really run with a baby. You got, you know, unless you have the whole like stroller set up. But no, the point being is like you
Parkrun pram dads.
I rate it. I think it's awesome. I should get him one for his birthday. But no, I just think it's a really just a self-aware is pretty key in this stuff. Like you need to be able to understand like at any given time you can't have it all. But yeah, the triangle: career, fitness, health, aesthetic maybe, and relationships.
Where would you say JD is at right now?
Career, give that a nice 9, 10 out of 10 at the moment. Things are going all right. Fitness, that sort of thing's there. Relationships are going to put a pretty low level on that one there, but that's something I accept.
Yeah,
I'm not sitting and being like, woe is me, I can't like, oh no. It's like, no, like, I don't have to have a successful relationship. You have to commit a lot of time and effort into that. Like, not many people want to like date someone who doesn't have much free time for them or can devote much like emotional energy into that whole relationship. Like I've tried to date and I've had relationships, some more success than others, throughout this last few years of like taking my fitness really seriously and taking content really seriously. It's really hard. Like it is really, really hard, and I get that. I understand. Like, I'm probably like quite a difficult person to date in that sense because I'm.
Well, what would you say you're like as a partner then?
Oh, wicked! So I'm not like I'm not like uptight. I'm pretty chill. Everything. Yeah. I'm not very confrontational. Like I don't argue. No. I'm very like discuss the matters. Like
let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. 100%. You know, be respectful to your partner in that sense. There. But no. But even then, it's like going off and training for. Oh, I've got to now do like a 4 or 5 month training block that I need to travel different places around the world. There's also like you can be when you're going through training blocks a little bit emotionally distant as well, which is something that I've understood, and that's something I'm a bit more aware of now. Yeah. Which I'm sure you are as well, because you're putting this emotional energy into the thing you're training for.
For sure.
And then same with content, you've got to put a lot of energy for that to work. So to make it as a content creator, you have to put a lot of energy and work into that. You're constantly thinking about it. Like the only thing that's going through my mind any given day is like, what am I training? What's my nutrition like today? How's my recovery looking like this? And then what time am I going to bed? Then also I've got to think, okay, what am I filming today? What's the edit process? How can I make this better? I've got this deadline. Like between those two things, to then be like, right, I'm also now going to like, you know, date someone. And I was like, I'm tired. You can probably get this new training. I'm 8:30, 9 o'clock. I'm in bed.
You see, I would love to feel like that, but the problem is I override that feeling and force myself to do stuff, and it honestly drives Izzy mad. Yeah, because she likes getting to bed early, and I do. If I could just drop everything and just get into bed early, cool. I just have this thing, mate, and honestly, if I didn't have Izzy, I would be the most fucking awful person to date right now, because all my brain thinks about is content. You know, for example, relaunching this pod, like the amount of time and thought that I've taken into just planning all of this stuff, my own content, my YouTube, like everything's always just at the front of my brain. And I sometimes neglect like the important parts of my life to focus on that. But I very much look at it, and I don't want this to come across as like a toxic thing, but I very much look at it as like, I work hard in my 20s to build my life in my 30s and my 40s and 50s, you know? 100%. And then they obviously write themselves and you create your quote unquote legacy, cringe word, but you know what I mean? Yeah. That for me is like my thinking, and I'm very, very fortunate to have such a loving woman that Izzy is, and very patient as well. I watched Jake's 100%. Video last night, and him and Emily talking about their relationship, and what they've got is amazing, because although Emily's got her own career and stuff, she's like, right, my life is traveling around the world with Jake, supporting his fitness ventures. I can still have my own thing, but also I know for a fact my life is dedicated to making sure that he's an elite athlete. And to have that dynamic is amazing.
100%. You need to have someone who's a big cheerleader for you, and you need to be a big cheerleader for them. For sure. That's I mean, easier said than done to find that person, because again, like it's not the easy thing to find. If you are a big cheerleader, just message me. That's fine. No, but in all seriousness, like the dynamic of relationships is really important in that sense there, because not everyone's going to want to do that. Not everyone's going to want to, you know, basically like travel around the world, support you in races, things like that. Like it's not, you know, that's a very
There's
different
an ego
life
as well to it, right? Like if you think about it, and I think this probably happens more with blokes supporting the woman. Yeah, you'll get a lot of men that would feel a bit demasculated by the fact that they're supporting their kind of like top tier successful woman and being almost like their cheerleader for them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think a lot of guys would struggle with that. I wouldn't. I'd love to do that. Are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
I've done it before. Like, I've been in that position where, like, I'm cheering on the person I was with, and like I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Like, you kidding me? It's nice to turn up to a race and you not being the one who has to race. It's nice to be playing that supporting role, but it's also nice to get that back as well. It's a give and take thing in that sense there, and like that's a nice position to be in. But that's why I think as well, like after big races or big challenges, big events, it's really good to let a bit more life in.
Yeah.
Like have a bit more life. Like I've just finished last week was Last Man Standing in Texas.
Yeah. Was gonna go on to this, man.
But it was almost a case of like, as soon as that's over, it's like, cool, this next 2 months, when am I seeing my friends? When am I checking my family? My sister's had a baby. I want to spend more time with her and the baby. Like being really present for those things is really important. That's why I think it's so important not to rush into the next thing, because when you commit to your commitments and commit to a race or a build and a program, that is a commitment you're giving to that. But you're saying that is a priority for me. You're not saying other things aren't a priority, but you're saying this is now a priority and I'm going to have to choose this over a lot of other things in life.
For sure.
And that's commitment. I love that. But if you're in a perpetual state of commitment to just your goals and not the people in your life, I think that's a really selfish place necessarily to be in.
I caught myself in this place.
Yeah.
I really did.
It's easily done.
And
like
I think, obviously, now I'm really, really fortunate to be in the position where I can work for myself and be the the kind of like sailor of my own ship, I guess, and be the one that controls everything about my life. But also at the same time, I was like, when I was working full time at Fellas and doing my content as well, I realized I had no time. And that's a very privileged position to be in. Look, this is not me saying, "Oh, poor me" at all. What it is me saying is the fact that I suffered my relationships with family. I would have missed texts from family members and stuff that I've just innocently missed, and then that upsets them, and then you're like, well, I don't want to be a shit person here. Why has this happened? I'm so sorry. And then you find yourself just not chatting to mates and stuff. You're not going out. You're not seeing your mates at the pub. They've all gone to the pub, and you're like, you've just forgotten to see that message because you're focusing on your content. These sanitary things that in the grand scheme of life, yes, they're amazing for your career, but also they're not important to the now. Like you do need to balance the future and the now a bit more. And I think I'm 100%. Trying to still find that.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's one of those things that, like, knowing that, you know, time with family and friends is important. It's not just hanging out, like, you know, especially as you got going through a period of life where, like, things like your parents are getting older, like, you know,
that eats away at me a bit.
100%. Knowing that you've spent them, like, most of the time you've ever spent with your parents is behind you.
Jesus.
Sorry to wake you all up there, but no, it's true, and like, I do think about that. I think
that's a fair point,
and that's one of those things that for me is like, okay, I've come out of this race, this project, cool. How much time I want to see my mum, see my dad, see my sister. Like, I want to spend good time because I know that when I get into the next training block for the next thing, like, I'm going to be a little bit more, like, obviously living in different places. Like, it's not as easy to meet up in that sense. But, you know, just making sure, like, I do make that priority, like spending time with friends. I've got a lot of friends' weddings, all these sort of things. I want to be really present for those things. I don't want to be going to these things thinking about my training. Like, I remember Father's Day last year. When I went to see my dad in Cambridge, and it was when I was training for this challenge. Like, that weekend, I'd ran 70K that weekend. And after the long run, on the second long run on Sunday, I took the train to Cambridge, and I was basically asleep the whole time I was there. And I was so not present at all. Like, I was thinking about eating. I was thinking about, maybe I had a nap when I was at my dad's, and I took the train back later on that day. I can't really tell you much about what happened that day because I was so not present, because I was chasing my goals, my things there, which again, like, is an element of selfishness to it, which I think is okay. But when I'm not training for those things, I have to be very unselfish with my time and really present with the people in my life. I think it's really important to, you know, it's not just the me show. And I think there's other people in my life who their lives are important to them just as much as my life's important to me. And I think to be a good brother, good friend, good potential partner, like, you've got to show up for those people as well. And I can't just show up and be like, well, you know, this is all about. It's like, no, like, you've got to show up for these people in life. Like, people don't want to. There's not many people queuing up to have a relationship with someone who's only thinking about themselves. You know, I think that's a really important thing to master, and that balance, because it all does come down to a certain balance of, like, achieving great things and going after these goals, especially in fitness and whatever it is there, but also showing up for people in your life. Like, I've seen this ongoing trend on TikTok recently where it's like women talking about, like, their partners, like, whilst big things happen in a relationship, and they're going off to train for, like, an Ironman or something. And it's like, okay, that's great. Or, like, people who've just had kids going off to do big training for big challenges. And it's like, you just had a kid. Like,
Yeah.
surely that's become. At what point does that become the priority in your life?
I completely get you. It's almost like you go from this state of being, if you've had a partner that lets you get away with being unholy selfish about your decisions.
Yeah.
Now that might come across a bit kind of aggressive, but if your partner's sort of person that's never held you to account when you're being a bit selfish, and then something big like having a child comes along and you're continuing that selfish behavior, it's a disaster waiting to happen, man.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Like, you have to. I think it's important to show up the big thing. Don't get me wrong. I've been the selfish partner before. Like, I've been I'm chasing after this big thing for me, and that's fine. Like, but also there's a case of like it's much easier to do that if you don't have the responsibility of a relationship at the same time. But it's a balance of like having somebody's understanding, but also not taking the piss.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, they're super understanding. Well, they won't mind if I'm like tired every night and I like don't really want to have a chat with them about something, or like, you know, as long as you're able to show up and be present for when they want to have a deep conversation or want to speak to you about certain things. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah. Well, look, talking of big challenges, BPN Last Man Standing, mate. Honestly, me, like everyone in the fitness world, was glued.
Didn't realize everyone was watching it. Like,
this is a thing, bro.
Didn't have a clue until after I'd finished, and then I was then watching it, being like, "Why is there 20,000 people on a live?"
Mate, and it was so funny where you go onto the live when it like the start between the lap, or whatever, and all the comments were just "Let's go, Kendall. Let's go, Kim." Like just copy paste. It was so funny.
It's fast.
But talk to me about it. How did it come around? Obviously, you're a BPN athlete. I think we should probably speak about that first, like how that came around.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, big fan of BPN. I've watched Nick Bear's stuff since before I ever got into fitness properly. Like back in like 2017, 2018. Like I was watching his stuff then, and I just thought I was like, this guy's pretty cool. Like I like what he stands for. Like I like what he stands for about hard work, commitment. And just always watched his stuff. Always been a big supporter of what he's about. And then over the years, as BPN, as a brand, as a company has grown, those that know, BPN stands for Bear Performance Nutrition. They're a supplement and nutrition brand based in Texas. Very American. So they've always had American athletes on their roster. Yeah. So at no point did I ever think they would invite me, who lives in London and is British, to join them. And then back end of last year, I got a reach out, a DM from them. And they were just like, hey, like, what are you doing? It was during the challenge. They were watching me during the challenge.
Oh, okay, cool.
And they were like, what you're doing is awesome. We absolutely love it. We'd like to send you some product out. And I was like, no way. I'd actually already bought a lot of their products before and paid shipping over from America just because I was like, I like the brand. I like what they're about. It connects with me. They're more than just a supplement brand because I connect on a deeper level with them. Yeah. Like, that's something for me that's same with any of the brands I work with and you know, represent. Like, it has to be more than just a brand. Like, I've never really come across a supplement brand that I actually really care about because they stand for something. Mm-hmm. Like most supplement brands in the UK, not to name names and put them down here, but like they don't really stand for much. I found they're just like very, you know, VC backs, like very. There's no face to them. It's just product. It's just, you know, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me to like be enthusiastic about working with a brand, like there's got to be something more to it. They've got to be more than just a company who sells stuff and makes money. There's got to be more to it.
There's got to be value to the audience.
Value to it. There's got to be change. And I've always thought that BPN. I always thought it was like the coolest thing. I've watched their videos for so many years. Yeah. And so then they sent me this stuff, and I was chatting to them, and they're like, "Hey, just jump on a call," and they're like, "We would like you to be in it, become an athlete." And I'm like, I was actually blown away by it. I genuinely like.
So wait, they got you to go on a call, and then they basically said, "Hey, yeah, the reason we're having this call is because we want you to be an athlete."
Literally was that. I jumped on the call, and I was like, I genuinely didn't think it was about. I thought they were wanting to chat about. Honest to God, I actually don't know what they wanted to talk about. It was head of partnerships for them. Jumped on the call, and I generally thought he was like, you know, maybe, you know, potentially down the road, like what my next plans and what my next projects were. Maybe they wanted to get involved in some way. But then they said, we know we'd like to invite you to become an athlete with BPN. And it was the easiest yes I've ever like, like 100%. So yeah, and it's just amazing. I mean, the one thing I like about it is like every single person on their roster, they're not a big roster of athletes. No. Every single person is awesome. Yeah. They're disciplined, they're dedicated. They're also kind, which is a big thing for me.
I think kind content is such an important factor to what they stand for. Yeah. You don't ever see them working with edgy people that are just have an element of hate to them or
Yeah.
anything kind of cutting edge. Everyone on the roster seems to be fairly nice.
Everyone is generally lovely, caring, considerate, and that goes a long way for me. No one's trying to one up each other.
Yeah.
No one's trying to like get one over on each other. Like everyone on that roster is like so that's what I'm proud of. It's like whenever I work with a brand, I always look at a few things. Do I love the company? Do I love what they stand for? Do I think their products are amazing?
Yeah.
And then also look who else they work with. That's a big one for me. I've turned a lot of partnerships down, a lot of branders down, based on who else they work with, because I think there's a lot of people in not only fitness space, but in social media space, I wouldn't want to associate with.
Yeah.
I have very different values to those people. I know what I stand
like that,
for.
man.
And that's one thing I do. Every time I work on a brand campaign, the question is, who else do you work on this campaign with? And a lot of the time, I was simply just out of who else they're working with. I'm like, I don't agree with those people. Based on the fact that they either spread misinformation or these sort of things, I just don't, I don't ever talk badly about any of the creators at all. But also, I wouldn't want to work on a brand partnership or a deal or anything like that if they were also choosing to work with creators I don't think are providing good value or maybe not the healthiest people for people to follow.
What's your kind of core values of sort of gauging a creator and what they stand for?
Integrity.
Yeah.
100%.
And what builds integrity to you?
Trust. They don't spread misinformation.
Yep.
They don't spread lies. They don't get caught up in a lot of the bullshit on social media.
Yep.
Talking about creating beef, creating dramas between people. Like, I think that's such a cheap, lazy way for you to get people to like watch your stuff.
Yeah.
Instead of providing value, instead of providing like insights into certain things, you're getting like it's cheap views.
I talk about this like net positive content.
Yeah.
It's positive for you as the creator because you're
Yeah.
bettering your life as a result of it. And it's positive for the viewers and listeners or whoever that is because it's improving their life
100%.
as a result. They're getting something from it.
100%. And again, like this is not me sitting here criticizing other creators. This is what I stand for.
Yeah.
And I will only want to work with people who also align with those values. Same way I wouldn't be friends with people who had complete different values to me as well. And so that's one of those things. And I just looked at their roster, and they're all people that I know. I know a decent amount of the BPN athletes beforehand anyway. I think they're awesome people.
Yeah.
They're disciplined. They put the work in. They're hard working, but they don't lose. They take what they do seriously. But they're still able to not take themselves too seriously in a sense, and like understand that, hey, this is a privilege. We get to do this. This is an awesome thing to do. They care about their community. There's so many wonderful things about all those people on that roster. So when they invited me to join, I was like, wow, what a real privilege that is. So yeah, easiest yes ever. And that's why I've spent a lot of time back and forth between Austin, where they're based, and here. They then, obviously, last week held Last Man Standing.
Incredible.
Or in this case, Last Two Men Standing.
Yeah.
For those that know, Last Man Standing is a race format. You run 4.2 miles or 6.7 kilometers on the hour, every hour. If you're not back at the start for the next lap, you're out. That's it. So the race goes on until only one person remains and completes the lap.
Or in this case, it was 2.
Or in this case, it was 2 because I believe at 230 miles,
Yeah.
I think it's around that, which is 2.5 days of constant running. A biblical storm hit Texas. When I say this, I was back in Austin at this point. I've never seen a storm like it. It was the craziest thunder and lightning, the craziest rain, the craziest wind. There's a tornado warning out as well. And so basically like that went through Austin and they had to evacuate the course, and they called it a split win for that.
Well, it was such a kind of historic kind of thing because I saw a lot of critique online, people saying, oh my God, people are acting as if this is the first Last Man Standing race ever. They didn't act like that. But the point is, this was just kind of 2 men not giving up.
Yeah.
The only thing to stop them was a storm.
Yep.
Like, that is insane.
It is. And also, just to shout out, I was chatting a lot to Kendall before the race, and then during the race, you're running with everyone you're racing against, you're running with the whole time because it's a 4.2 mile loop. It's not that big. You're kind of all with each other.
Yeah.
And you're doing it every single lap. And so you spend a lot of time with the people you're running with.
For sure.
I have to say, like, both of those 2 guys, I was so happy they got to split that win.
Oh.
They're both so deserving of it. They're both such disciplined athletes, but they're both such gentlemen as well. Like the way they conducted themselves in the course, how helpful they were. Like I got serious dehydration on that, and I was chatting to Kendall a lot about like what he's giving me advice on his strategy for refueling. I was doing 2.5 liters of fluid per hour.
Whoa.
For context, it was 37 degrees Celsius on the day, and at night time it was 27 degrees. It was pretty hot. So I was struggling to get the fluids in. His team as well were very helpful to us, and like just that, like they were obviously going for the win. They were so focused on that, but didn't forget to at the same time be kind, be courteous, be helpful to other people, and like still maintain that level of respect for other people they're around. And that for me is just like, yeah, and same with Kim as well. I had some really, really wonderful chats with him.
Yeah.
So I was watching after, I was like, I want them both to win. And they both won. So I'm really happy about that as well.
That's sick.
I got 10th.
Yeah, mate.
Which technically means fuck all, because if you don't win it, you get a DNF, did not finish.
But how many people took part?
130.
So you came top 10. That's incredible.
I'll take it.
That's amazing.
But again, go back to the point. Unless you win it, you get the same horseshoe. So the prize you get is a horseshoe that says DNF, did not finish. No matter what position you come, unless you win it, and you get one that says finisher.
That's incredible.
And that's it. There's nothing else you get apart from a jar of poker chips as well. That everyone who entered we got sent a poker chip beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And when you turn up on race day, you have to put your poker chip in a jar and you get your bib. So basically, the winner, or in this case, winners, both get a jar of everyone's chips.
Oh, okay.
So
all the people they've defeated.
Everyone's souls they've taken.
That's sick.
So it's cool how that all worked there. But yeah, it was phenomenal. And again, I got
It was invite only, wasn't it?
No, it's done a raffle.
It was a raffle, but he did like a live stream. But there were people.
Okay, I was invited.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
BPN athletes were offered a spot if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And then I think a couple other people who are friends of the brand were saying, hey, we're doing this race. Would you like to be a part of it? And then everyone else has done on a raffle. There's 5,000 people applied for the raffle last year.
I remember the live stream. It was crazy.
It's a live stream.
Yeah.
When this raffle goes live next year,
oh, mate, it's going to be insane.
It's going to be insane. Because, like, 5,000 people for 100, I think the 115, 120 places that they drew up for was a bit mad. I know that so many of the athletes want to do it next year.
Exactly.
Because everyone's watching and be like, this is sick. Why don't... Because I remember when I said, yeah, I'm doing that. And then Mitch Amons, Lucy Davis, all both said, yeah, we'll do it as well. No other athlete, everyone else was like, nah, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, guys, this would be so sick and the event to do. And so I know next year there's a whole bunch of the athletes doing it as well.
The growth that BPN got off that event was seismic. I kept going onto the lives and then going onto the page and looking at the follower count. It would go up like 10k each live. Yeah. It was insane.
No, they smashed it. Like this is also the thing as well. They made that event and it wasn't about they didn't elbow in product. Mm-hmm. There was no I was using the product, obviously this is what I use, my nutrition. Yeah. But they weren't like they made the event about the event. Yeah. Like that cost events like this cost money to put on. Sure. Like there was like I think it was $100 per person for their place for the race. Like they didn't make any money from this. It's like they solely did it as like an example of like what they stand for as a brand. Yeah. And like, hey, we're gonna put on the most awesome race, it's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be challenging, and it epitomises like the go one more of the brand. You know, giving it an extra go, going another lap. It's catchy, it's got a ring to it. They had the big go one more about the start finish line. It works so well. And again, it was like they weren't there trying to be like, oh, make sure this is product in shot. Like, they didn't care about that. It's a wicked race. Yeah. And they care about making special moments like that. And for me, like to be able to work with a brand that like their sole focus is on changing people's lives, like making amazing moments like that. Oh, and by the way, we also sell the best supplements on the planet. I was like, yeah, okay, that's a no-brainer. Like their supplements so good, they almost don't have to be like forcing down anyone's throats. Yeah, got you. And that's it makes it easy for me to work with them because they're very much like, talk about what you take. If you don't take a product, then talk about the product. Yeah. Like, and that's it. And you know, they've never once told me what I can and can't say about certain things or posts or products. Like, they're very much like, we believe in you, what you're doing, what you stand for. You align with us. That's it.
I think that says a lot about a brand. And like, I think I spoke about this on a previous pod. I can't remember which one, but we were talking about like the best relationships to have. No, it was my vlog I spoke about on. Yep. The best relationships to have as a creator with a brand are when the brand believe in your content as a creator, and you can tell that they've really watched your content and know what you stand for. Because the worst thing is when you have that transactional brand deal and you're going back and forth. Adidas for me have been a brand that have always sort of believed in like my content and always said they've given me that sort of rope to kind of go, you do your thing, we know it works with us, so like do your thing. And we did the London Marathon thing and I paced Izzy for that TikTok. And all we did was show that we were both wearing Pro 4s at the start line. Yeah. The whole rest of the video was me and her. Like, you don't even see our feet, really. But in the caption, we talk about the shoes that we're wearing. And that was the advert for it. It was the fact that we were wearing the Pro 4s. And they were like, this is amazing. Yeah. And so many brands could have said, well, you've not shown the product. Like, what use is this to us? It's got 2.1 mil. Yeah. That's the thing to understand is, like, a lot of brands are so obsessed. They think that their product's the best thing in the world, which to them it is because they work so hard to make whatever that product is. I get that. But from a content perspective, an audience doesn't really care that much. No. An audience cares about, like, when you're making a piece of media to connect with an audience, like,
Where's the emotion? Where's the movement? Where's the thing in it? And like this is something I've made content with brands for years now, and like pretty successful at doing so.
Yeah.
And when brands come with me and like they're like, okay, well this is how we need to show. There's 20 touch points of their brand and this. I'm looking at them like, that's not gonna work as a piece. And they're like, and then they expect the video to perform really well.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe just let me make my video and I will use the product as I would use a product, because I would generally use this product, and I don't need to do a brand deal with a brand unless you would actually use that product. Again, back to the integrity part, but also like put a bit of trust in me. Like generally, can you just leave the trust to me and like let me go out and do my thing?
Like, I haven't pitched myself to you here. You've come to me and said, we like your content, want to work with you.
Yeah.
So therefore, let me make my content.
Let me make my content. I've got a great idea. Here are some videos I think would work really well. Leave that to me. And like the worst is like I've been halfway through a brand deal. I was filming something with the brand before, and it's been such a pain in the arse that I've just turned around and said, listen, it's going to be no. I'm not going to do this now because you made it so difficult that you what you want doesn't really like I can't actually deliver on that, because you want me to not lie, but you want me to position this and they'll ultimately make it a bad video. At the end of the day, I don't want to ever make a bad video.
Yeah.
I may make videos that don't get that many views or that many things there, but like even then, like I'll still put my best effort into a video and try and make it a good video. If I watch it and I don't like it, I'm not posting it. Simple as that.
Yeah.
So I've probably got like a good 50, 60 videos in my like CapCut that I've made. They're just my videos that I actually didn't post because I didn't think they're very good. And that's not me being self-critical. That's me just having a standard of like what I'm willing to post. And is the viewer going to benefit from this? Are they going to feel anything from this? Or is it just me filling space with a bit of a vlog that's like, meh, there's nothing that unique or introspective about it or reflectionary about it. I just think it's actually, I think it's very good. I always like to think every video I put out, there's got to be some good value to it. And there's got to be something that, at least I'm proud of the effort involved with it. If it's not very good or not that like, I'm a bit like, I'd rather not. Same with brand videos. If I don't think it's a good enough video, like, the brand might like it because they're heavily featured. They may want to put budget behind it and push it out further. I don't want to be involved in that. So I think that's one of those things as a creator, like being very strict on what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Yeah. So nowadays, generally when a brand comes through, I'm like, listen, send me the product. Let me make my video I want to make. If it's not going to be that, and they're like, no, we need, like, there are certain things in the brief here and there. I'm like, I get it, but also because they've got to do certain things, but also there's an element of trust that needs to be involved between a brand and a creator that I think is really important to do. And the brands that do so well in this space completely understand that.
It's almost like it's so obvious. Like, we're going back to BPN and with that event.
Yeah.
Like, that was such an obvious hit because people watching it who weren't runner fans.
Yeah.
Or, they'd never really seen content like it. Like, so many people on TikTok, on the social media space, didn't really know much about running in general, but they were so captivated by this event. Why is it a brand like BPN is able to just come in and go, right, we're putting on this event. These are the athletes that we're using. The vast majority of them are completely unknown to a lot of people. How are they able to make a splash like that? Because there's so many people that probably come in and go, yeah, we can put on an event. We'll get like 10 top creators and pay them a shit ton of cash. It's because there's no heart. That's the reason.
It's the whole thing of like being fully committed, and like every single person that works at BPN is the same, like they're the same value, same integrity. Yeah. We understand this for the committed. We believe in going one more. Like, these aren't just taglines, these are beliefs. These are core fundamental beliefs with not just the company, but everyone who works there and everyone who's a part of it.
Yeah.
That we're all kind of going for the same goal with that. And so for me, like understanding that, and like they understand storytelling very well. Mm-hmm. They understand media very well. They're a media first brand, and their media teams are exceptional. Like beyond exceptional. Like,
the YouTube channel is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Like, it's so beautifully shot, so cinematic, so like whenever I shoot videos with them, and like how the understanding their process of how they storytell, structure content, structure media, and like it's not about the products. It never is about the products. Their products are phenomenal. They make the best products I've ever had. It's not even about they don't really make videos about the products.
Yeah.
They make videos about performance and things that matter to people. Like, without being like, electrolytes, they're an important thing to have as a person. No one gets that emotional about electrolytes. Okay, so what's the point of making a video about electrolytes? You don't. You make a video about someone going out and achieving amazing things.
Yeah.
You make that's where it's how can you connect to people on a deep level. Same with any content. It's how do you connect with someone on that more deeper emotional level?
Yeah.
How can you have that impact on someone that you actually make a difference to people's lives? That's an important thing in media. Whereas mildly entertaining people or showing, oh, we've got this product here and this product here, this product, that's not good in content or in media. Like that might be informative and there might be a time and a place for that, but that's not for what content's about. Content, and media is to inspire, entertain, educate, and like finding a way to connect on those things on a deeper level is such a undervalued thing that again most brands don't really get right because they're built from a more traditional model of like everything else first. And we've got this social media thing as well, not realizing that's literally the biggest driver now for most brands is are people like that. That's how you customers find you.
Got to tell a story, man. Like if everyone thought it was easy, everyone would do it.
100%. It's hard. No, it's hard. It takes
insanely hard.
It takes time. It takes effort. It takes understanding who your audience are, what their drivers are, what their emotional levers are, in the sense of like understanding like what is the story we're telling here? Like who is the person we're speaking to with this piece of media? Same way when you make content, like who is I know who my audience is.
Bro, I would be able to like make what my audience looks like outside. I'd be able to model them. Like I would be able to literally like draw them exactly.
And so by figuring out who your audience is, what are the things they struggle with? What are the things that you can help them with? What are the things that you personally struggle with yourself and manage to overcome? And what are the reflections and learnings you got from that someone else can benefit from?
Absolutely, man.
That's then more important than a certain number of views on a video. Some of my most pointless videos have gotten like millions of views. Okay, great. But then the videos that I'm most proud of maybe only did 100,000, 200,000 views, but people connected with that video. People gone, fuck yeah, you know what? I rate that. And like, they mess you at the back of the video, be like, I watched this video you just did, and like, I appreciate this, or like, I understood this, and then we can like, that for me is more important as a creator than
100%.
Making a bang of a video that just does great views and whatnot there, but it's like, okay, well, that feeling is just a short-lived feeling. Whereas in reality of actually knowing that you're having an impact on the people are benefiting from watching your content, that's why I got into it in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's, as a creator, such a wonderful thing to get feedback from an audience. And then also to be able to then work with other creators who look at things in that sense there as well.
Yeah, amazing. Well, look, back to the Last Man Standing race.
Yeah.
I want to know the ins and outs. I want to know everything, mate. So, you had this big training block for it. It was your A goal of the entire year.
Yeah.
This Last Man Standing. You go into it. Do you have an expectation of what you want to do? Or do you just go into it completely raw and think, I just want to win?
It was a case of I want to go until I cannot go anymore.
Yeah.
So wherever that takes me, whatever position that puts me in, that is the position. Like, so for me, the training block consisted of a lot of simulations. Did an 8-hour treadmill simulation. Did a 12-hour overnight simulation.
That was insane. Both of them were just sickening, bro.
They were, compared to the actual race itself, they
Talk
were
about trauma.
They were walk of the park. So, and then also I trained in a heat suit for 2 months as well. I'll go to train in a heat chamber because where the race was in Texas at this time of year, it's very hot. High point of the day was 37 degrees Celsius. The coldest it got on the course when I was running was 27 degrees about 3 a.m, and it was still 90% humidity. It was horrific conditions. There's very little shade. There was very little wind. It was the worst condition I've ever ran in. So from a perspective of, I just ran 102 miles in the most ridiculous heat possible, I'm really happy and satisfied with that result. Did I go to as far as I could go? Yeah, I always got really ill. Really? And so it was a case of massive dehydration despite putting back so much fluids. It got to a point I couldn't stomach food anymore. I couldn't stomach anything. And towards like the 17-hour mark, I was feeling really bad. And so I was like, okay, maybe I can hang on for another 6-7 hours to try and make it to the 100-mile mark at least. And just if I set myself that marker, okay, when I started, I was like, well, let's just obviously get to 100 miles, and then we carry on going, and like I'll keep going until my body just says you can't go anymore. When it was going through the night and I was still struggling bad, I also got some of the worst chafing I've ever got. I'm not sure if anyone's ever had this experience. Could be the only one. Managed to chafe my testicles.
What?
Yeah.
How do you do that? What, the inner lining of the shorts?
No, so I was wearing what do you call them? Half tights.
Oh yeah, I was about to say because there's a big lad like
and I
you.
changed them a few times over. What it is, I was sweating so much that so much salt built up in areas. Bear in mind, I'd Vaseline up my nuts beforehand.
Oh my god! So
like everything around here and underneath, like full like.
No, I can see how that happens though.
Yeah. But like it was from my nuts against the insides of my legs. It was, when I say it was painful, like the when I finally got back to my Airbnb late there on the Sunday, I was laying there and I fully had to put my old boy in a sock to like protect I put everything in there. It was the only way I could sleep. I messaged a mate of mine.
Did you have an ankle sock or did you go for a crew?
Oh, full crew sock, yeah. I messaged a mate of mine, Leon, who's ran like a desert race before, and I said, mate, have you ever chafed your nuts before? And he goes, yeah, it's one of the most painful things I've ever done. And I was like, what'd you do? He goes, I basically covered it in like Sudocreme and then put a sock on it to sleep in. Oh. To be fair to him, it worked really well. Like,
well, that's why if you got really dry hands, you like put moisturizer on your hands and put gloves on.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So.
Well, the sock idea was basically so that it didn't stick to the inside, because I had to sleep basically like with my legs really wide apart. I like to sleep on my side usually.
Yeah, I'm the same.
So this is the case, so I couldn't do that. I had to sleep basically with like no duvet on my lower half. I fully Winnie the Poohed it, just covering myself.
Oh, mate.
And I just had to like spread my legs out and just air dry what was going on there, but also put the sock on so that it didn't stick to the insides of my legs.
Yeah.
Mate, it was horrific. Then, so that was going on as well, but I got so dehydrated. I was throwing up so much, even water was getting thrown back up. So by the time we got to like 20 hours in, there's 4 hours to go, I was like, I think I can make it to 100 miles. Just as like a milestone, like my first 100 mile, I'll take it. And then like so many lessons have been learned from that race, and like so many things, especially now looking at next year's, I'm like, okay, if I've nailed to knock out, I did another half lap after I hit the 100 mile mark as well, just so I didn't like just hit 100 miles. I was like, no, let's go out for the next lap. But it was very much a case of like stinging headache, throwing up constantly. I could feel cramps coming in all over. My kidneys were hurting. And these are all signs of like, you're not, like, that was a point of like, okay, I'm not, and also I couldn't, the fact that every time I'd sip some water, I would struggle to swallow. Food would just, I'd throw up straight away. At that point, like, unless you're consuming consistent fluids and calories, you'll basically cease to stop at some point.
So the winners, Kim and Kendall, how on earth did they get to the point? Because there's an interesting stat, and you'll be able to correct me on this. The top three, the third place went out, was it?
125 miles.
Yeah, and then they lasted till 230.
Yeah, so they ran over 100 miles, just the two of them.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So what was the third place finisher? Did they finish quite close to fourth?
Yeah. So after 100 miles,
everyone,
within the following, between like 100 miles, like the 14 people left around as we got into 100 miles, and then within another 6 laps, there was just 3 left, and then after 125 was when Mitch went out. Yeah, and then pretty soon after, just 2 of them.
They probably thought at this point, when it went down to 3 very quickly, they probably thought, this won't last much longer.
I think they both knew from early on that they were both the 2 like dogs who were there.
Right, okay.
They were, from when I chatted a lot to Kendall beforehand. He just come 5th.
Kendall's from Costa Rica, isn't he?
Yeah, but he lives in Australia.
Okay.
He just came 5th in the Sydney Backyard Ultra. He'd done over 200 miles there.
Is that the one where they run? I know the one you're talking about.
It was. They put their reel up every time they start. Yeah. They did it, so it was sick. And I remember watching it, and a few people said, "Oh, this guy who's could come 5th is in that BPN race." So I reached out to him, and be like, "Mate, like this is awesome, like class," and really helped because he's done quite a few of these. He's coached by a guy called Sam Harvey, who's the world record holder as well.
Okay,
so like he wasn't coming there to like have a good time. He came there to win.
And the Sydney one was a training race for this.
I get where he really won the bloody things. Like he smashed it. He's done quite a few of these now. Like that was a race for him to get into. And like I knew he was going, like he was fully, like the way he had this team set up, the way he was approaching the race, like he was very, like he was there to go for that win. Mm-hmm. And I think it does take a few rounds of these races to really fine tune everything in there. Because I'm itching now. I'm like, right, when's... You
learn so much, I'm sure.
Well, this is what I was chatting to someone about it. Someone's been like, what does success mean to you in all these sort of things? And success to me is never a case of you win something or lose something. It's like any sort of test. You can either win it, or it's never a loss. It's just some sort of lesson. Because anything you test, say you're testing out a new content style, say you're doing this, there's always a lesson to be learned from it. It's just because it doesn't work doesn't mean you lost anything. It just means you've learned something from it. And I always go with a very open mind of like, okay, what did I take away from this? What are the learnings from it? Because I learned so much, and I'm like, well, I now know all these things I didn't know before, and I can now take that forward into my next race or next thing. That for me is I'm coming away from it being like,
yeah, you've won.
I've ran 102 miles in the most horrific conditions, trained really well effectively for it, got to have an amazing time with some amazing athletes on there, got to be a part of one of the coolest races I've ever been a part of.
Exactly, man.
And also prepare myself well for not only that race next year, but other things I want to achieve between now and then. Great. And I think that's everything. When a lot of people get disappointed with maybe they don't get a time in a marathon, for example, it's like, and they carry that like disappointment with them, like, oh, fucking I'm crap at this, whatever it is. Like, no, like you've gone out and pushed yourself to something. You've picked up new habits, new disciplines, new values, You've also like connected with people along the way. There's so many wonderful things you've picked up on. So if someone looks at success and loss or success and failure as a very binary thing of either hit this time or I don't hit this time, that is a really negative, there's a really poor way to look at most things, especially when it comes to racing or competing. And a much better, more positive way to look at it is like, who am I becoming in this process?
Yeah.
Who have I had to become in order to do this thing? Well, actually, no, I had to wake up a lot earlier now because I've got to train more. And actually, I've been better on my diet, so I'm actually becoming a bit more knowledgeable on nutrition, understanding. I've actually trained at different gyms, so I've met new people who, like, they're awesome to meet now. And actually realised that the most uninteresting thing about all this is what time you got.
Yeah.
That, for me, is always, like, a case there. So whenever people get overstressed about not hitting, like, the marathon time, the marathon goal, it's like, okay, well, like, 16 weeks of training is like, that's a pretty cool thing you've done. You've committed to a 16-week training block. You've become faster. You've become fitter. You've picked up better habits. Like, all of these things are massive improvements in your quality of life. Whether you got a time or not, like, no one actually cares about that.
No.
You get the same medal, don't you? If you get, so you run a 2:30 marathon, you run a 4-hour marathon or a 5-hour marathon, a 6-hour marathon, you get the same medal.
Yep.
And actually,
you actually get the same medal as the elites.
Oh, there you go. Even worse. The only thing you don't get is you've got to actually win the thing to get any sort of money there. But very rarely that's gonna happen. But the point being is, like, there's so many more interesting things to get out of these sort of things and competing, and how going into it with a perspective of like, what am I going to learn about myself doing this? And if you go into the mindset of like, I'm either going to win it or lose it, and like that's it. It's like, no, that's not it at all. There's so many things to take from it, but also it's a stepping stone into the right direction we want to go to. Because I want to next year I want to go for this. Now I've come out this other side. I finished 9 days ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm back. I trained legs yesterday. I'm feeling fine. It's like knowing that I ran.
Is your body all right?
Absolutely fine. No issues.
Is it?
Yeah, no, absolutely fine.
Did you have any aches and pains during it was all kind of internal?
Internal nausea, heat. I got heat stress issues.
Yeah.
Was the only thing there. And that, again, like, it was hot. Like, a lot of people got heat issues on the day. Is there a case that maybe if I train someone for 3 months in really hot conditions, might help? Yeah, of course it would help there. But also, okay, what from an earlier on, like, how to keep yourself a bit cooler. There's so many things I learned doing that.
Who was in your camp?
Matt Choi.
You had Matt Choi.
Abby Bandy, good friend of mine. She's run a few 100-milers as well. She's lived in Austin. And then my videographer, Mike.
Yeah.
So he was basically, he shot a YouTube video. He was also doing all my photos. So that's why we were able to upload as we were going.
Nice.
Which is so nice to be able to do.
It's also so good for the audience because, like, obviously BPN were great with sharing the content, but the live streams, there wasn't too much to it apart from the fact that it was a community builder. Yeah. Like, for you, able to put out to your audience, giving an update of how you're getting on, that's the main thing you kind of want from those things.
Oh, wait, everything banged. We posted. Like,
yeah.
I didn't realise how many people were aware of this race.
Yeah.
Because during it, you're not looking at your phone, you're doing the thing. It was only after I finished and I could then see, like, BPN are doing a live stream. I wonder what's on the live stream. Click on, it's like, there's 20,000 people watching it. I'm like, and then I looked at my phone and like went through all my messages and like all my family back home, cousins, and being like, we were watching you on the live stream, all this stuff, and I was like,
bro.
Oh, everyone was people were watching this. Like, I just, I think sometimes especially when you're like in a different country in the middle of nowhere, out in the sticks, like you're really not. Like you're not paying attention to what else is going on. You're just trying to get through this thing there. And also I had my phone on do not disturb the whole time, so no one can get hold of me. Because I don't want to be like running along in the middle of the night, my headphones in, and then like a group chat starts going off talking about some bullshit. I was like, okay, let's just keep that on. I don't want anything coming through. I just want to focus on what I've got to do here.
What were you listening to during those laps? Music or podcasts?
Bits, music, yeah, music here and there. But I spend most time just chatting to people. To be fair,
okay, nice.
I put music on when I really wanted to like. If I was struggling or like finding it a lap quite hard, I put a bit of music on to like, right, let's just lock in here. And then I go, I'm only 4 songs to the end of this lap.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm only worth how far in am I? Okay, 5 songs, 6 songs. I just judge how far I got to go to get back to the aid station until when the lap was over.
What was your closest call on a lap? Did you have any sort of very, very close calls with the time?
Nope.
Okay.
I was coming in at 42 to 48 minutes every time.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And then, so explain. So say if because there was a couple things where it was like, oh, Kim or Kendall had 1 minute to spare.
Yeah.
When that 1 minute happens, what do they have to just go straight back out?
Yeah, you go straight back out. 1 minute goes, you've got a minute to now, then when the next lap starts, you cross the start line in a minute. So you've got a minute to go back to you want to go back to your tent and swig of water or whatever you want to do, or maybe they pass you some food. You can carry what you want onto the course.
Yeah, I was about to say, can you do that?
But your crew is not allowed to pass you anything on the course.
No.
There's a disqualification. So once you're on the course, you're it, that you're self-supported. If you brought things with you, like you brought a water bottle, or maybe you bring some food out with you, that's fine. You can just eat that as you go. But like, you then don't get that. What those two were doing very well is they were sleeping really well. So night one, race started at midday on the Saturday. As we got into the evening, like 9, 10 p.m., my tent was in between the two of them. So I could see, I was right next to Kim from the start, where our crews were and our tents were. And I noticed something, that while I was like guzzling fluids down me and trying to like cool myself down, he had a bed and he was literally coming in at 45, 46 minutes, getting into that bed, closing his eyes, putting an eye mask on and sleeping for 10 minutes.
Wow.
He would sleep for 10 minutes. Same with Kendall. They would then wake up after a 10-minute sleep, eat, drink, go back out the next lap. Wow. And the one thing I said to them was like, how do you feel? Because I was like, surely you feel really groggy.
Yeah.
And they said, opposite. My legs feel fantastic. That 10 minutes of sleep is enough to almost like reset the brain, so the brain's no longer as groggy. But also, they would go, my legs feel really fine, like after I've done that sleep, because it's enough that I'm not sure what the science necessarily would be behind it, but it's enough for you to trick your brain, almost thinking like sleep is like going to recovery mode, and wherever I think it would be your mTOR receptors, which is something that dictates where your recoveries, your muscles will dictate to your brain what needs recovery.
Okay.
Your brain then starting signals and nutrients to those areas, but also what it does is once it's received through the mTOR receptor, it will then say that basically like legs are on the way to recovering. So it stops hurting as much.
Right.
So just by even falling asleep for 5 minutes, because on the Run the Capital Challenge, I did a few 5-minute sleeps when I was running into the night. Some evenings, I was so tired that I would just fall asleep on the side of the road and do like a 5-minute nap, and I'd sleep for 5 minutes, wake up, and I'd feel really good.
Mad.
For a little bit, and that's just off a 5-minute nap.
That's insane.
Those lads are saying like, if you want to race well on to day 2 or day 3, you have to sleep well on day 1, and eat well on day 1 as well. Because not only are you eating for what you're running, you're also almost like you're carb loading for the next day you're going to be running as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a continuous battle there. So if you don't nail your nutrition and your hydration well and your sleep, you're not gonna.
Did you sleep much? No,
I couldn't, mate. I was thrown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was so hot, and I was there, and we'd use that time to cool down to try and bring the core temperature back down again.
Would you just like put your feet in ice and put like cold stuff over your face, or
I had like ice vests on,
Okay.
so I'd get back into the campsite, lay on the ground, feet go in the air, and then I would ice vests on, ice bandanas on, and then we'd just pour ice cold water over my body.
Are you allowed to use the ice bandanas during the race? You know, the ones that you put over your forehead.
No one actually had them.
That's
But
weird.
you can do, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they look a bit goofy.
They definitely do.
They do look a bit odd. I didn't like unless you're winning that race, you rock up with the ice bandana thing.
Oh, it's of course because it's wind activated, isn't it?
There's a
So
bit
they're probably
there,
not
yeah.
going to create enough force to.
You're not really running that fast at any
No.
point. But it was interesting was like ice bandanas that go round your neck here. You pack them in. I had a sun hat that had like an ice packet in the top of it. You can put ice cubes in. We'd be melted in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's how hot the whole.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous state of affairs of just how hot it was. So no, again, whoever managed the heat and everything along with that, like, and credit to those guys because they absolutely smashed it.
Machines,
And like
yeah.
again, like I think it told like such a beautiful story of like two guys not giving up. And I think that for me, what I was then a part of the race to then being a spectator and watching like everyone else on the lives, and I was like, this is really special. Like this is unbelievable, and like it's everything that BPN stands for in that race and in what those two guys are doing of like not yielding, giving it a go, but also they were both such kind gentlemen. Like I couldn't have wished to share the course with nicer people who were generally like caring, considerate.
Will they get
sharing
an athlete
advice.
contract out of this? Do you reckon?
Can't say.
Oh, okay. I thought that maybe the prize for winning would be like a BPN.
Officially, that's not the prize for winning.
No.
But you know,
But I'm
can't
sure.
say,
I'm
but-
sure the attention that you get from yeah. What do you think this has done for ultra running now? Because it's all I'm seeing on my timeline at the moment.
I think it's great for ultra running. I think it's. I remember when I first got into ultra running myself, there was niche people who were doing it, and I saw what they were doing, and it lit something inside of me. This belief that, hey, you know what? If you train hard for something, you can achieve amazing things. You can do things that maybe you didn't think you could do before.
Yeah.
And that's all I've done the last few years. I think what it's done is it showed the accessibility of it. It showed that you don't have to be super fast, because if you can cover 6.7K in an hour, a lot of people can do. That's a very achievable thing to do. You're in the race. That's it. I think the beauty of this sort of format is you're not really racing against anyone unless you're the last person, the last two people. The last two people are racing each other. Until that point, it's a case of let's all try and help each other out. There's a real camaraderie to it because you're all on the same course. The course isn't very long. You're running the same loops. Your teams are next to each other. It's not very like argy-bargy or FU, any of that stuff. Maybe it could be towards the end, but like it's very much like, hey, we're all in this together trying to like get a distance in there. And I love that. And that's what I really liked about it. There was a massive camaraderie to that sort of race where it's hard for everyone. It's tough. We're all battling through the heat. People are helping each other out. Like we ran out of salt tabs. Like another crew came over and me like, hey, do you want to borrow some of our salt tabs? Do you want some of this? Do you want some of this? It's like, wow, what a really nice thing to be doing.
Yeah, considering it's a race, you would almost assume that everyone's going to be like, right, you're lost. You didn't have enough.
No, 100%. Wasn't that in the slightest at all. So what I think it does for ultra running, I think it brings more people into the sport. It brings more eyeballs in the sport. It brings more people understanding. I think when people can really see in such a clear way how far people can go and how great the human body is when you really do push yourself, I think it's a really wonderful thing to see. And I think that's what it shows people is like there are so many amazing levels to this. Yeah. And actually, if you persist at something, you can achieve some pretty amazing things. Like
I caught myself, mate, so many times over the past week thinking about those lads at the end, and I would be, let's say, at the hotel in Greece, on the treadmill doing these intervals. I was on my last legs. I didn't think I could hold it for like another 10 seconds, let's say. Yeah. I immediately think them lads done that for 100. Like,
mate,
do you know what I mean? I kept thinking back to the mental resilience that it's needed to do something like that. Yeah. And just thinking, I need to shut the fuck up because they're doing that. If that makes sense.
It honestly is, and it's so funny. But I think there's definitely a case of rising to the occasion.
Yeah.
Trying to do stuff like that, like just on your own. To be fair, shout out to Kim because he actually did run a 24-hour on his own simulation beforehand.
He did a 24-hour sim.
He's on a family holiday in Italy, just disappeared for 24 hours and did a 24-hour simulation. Which I think is fantastic.
That's insane.
Because he lives in Germany where it wasn't very hot. He's in a family holiday in Italy, a bit warmer. He goes, I'm just going to take 24 hours out and do that. And like, again, like chat to him about this on the course. And like that's also, I think that's almost harder because you're doing it self-supported. Like when I did that 12-hour overnight sim, it was just kind of me getting out of my apartment, like walking past my bed every lap being like, could just kind of go to bed at some point. That's quite hard. Whereas on the race and the occasion, like you rise up to it, like very much so. So I always think that, if you have the capacity to push yourself in training and like the training, half the battle of training is doing the training, starting it. Once you start, it's kind of hard to quit in that sense. But I think if you can get over the battle of like, I had a long ass day. If you come in from work, you're tired and you look at, I'm supposed to go on a 10K run. It's like, if you can get over that battle and do it, like come whatever day or race you're training for, significantly easier because you've conquered the hard bits. I always think training should always be somewhat harder than whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be longer. It's always going to be more arduous. It's always going to take more from you. Obviously, a race like that are insanely difficult, but training should be hard because it will prepare you for that. And the beautiful thing is, once you do something really hard like that, what is hard changes in your mind.
For sure. I whilst I was away, was reading Atomic Habits, and I'm not much of a reader yet, but I saw a quote in it that genuinely like really stuck with me. And it was about kind of discipline and when you're training for something and how you can kind of almost think, why is it not clicking for me almost? And sometimes you can kind of think, well, every time I'm going to do a session, I'm dreading it and I'm dreading the kind of idea of putting my body through that. But it's this quote is really good. The only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have fallen in love with the boredom. And I think that is bang on. Like someone like yourself, Jonny, who takes himself out in fucking northeast London overnight to do this disgustingly like obscure amount of running over a 12-hour period. Loads of people look at that and go, that bloke's insane. But that's what you needed to do to put yourself in the best possible position
100%.
For this race.
100%. When you've got a big thing hanging over like that, it's amazing what you do in training when you've got something, you've got something big coming up. Like, in my mind, I was like, this is easy. I've got to do a 12-hour run overnight. Yeah. It sounds really weird, but I look at that going, 12 hours is going to pass whether I'm running or not. Yeah. In 12 hours' time, it'll be 7 a.m. Well, if I just run for 12 hours, then I've done what I need to do. Time's going to pass anyway. Like, that's why I look at most things is like, the time's going to pass anyway.
I might as well better myself with that time.
I might as well make the most of that time. Yeah. That's why I do it, because every night I jump on the bike at home, I sit on there for an hour. I always think, this next hour, what am I going to do? Do I want to spend this hour on the bike, or do I want to spend this hour sitting on the sofa or scrolling TikTok? Yeah. And it's like, well, here's the thing. I can sit on the bike and scroll TikTok as well. But also, like, the hour is going to pass no matter what. And that's when I was doing the race, I kept thinking to myself, like, it's not running to anywhere. You're just moving for a bit, and the time will take you to where you need to get to. You just got to stick it out.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, like, time moves pretty fast. Like, it actually, even doing hard things like that, it does move pretty fast. Next thing you know, it's gone from middle of the day to evening. Next thing you know, it's now dark at night time. Next thing you know, the sun's come up. Next thing you know, you're back in the middle of the day again. Like, that day was going to pass whether I was running or not. Well, at least if I was running, I got to 100 miles.
Yeah.
Great. And for those lads, hey, 2 days passed pretty damn fast then.
For sure.
And the same with everything. Say you've got a big, arduous, difficult thing to do, or maybe it's a hard work project, or maybe you got to just dial in for 3 or 4 hours of work and do this. It's like, time's going to pass anyway. Might as well just do what you need to do and just keep grinding at it, and the time will pass. The next thing you know, you'll be at that point you need to be at.
Yeah, overcoming that tough patch and being next level dialed and focusing on the fact that everything you're doing is kind of having a further impact later down the line. And that was another thing in this book that was sick. It was called, I've forgotten the name of it, but essentially it's like, if you do something for 30 days, at the end of the 30 days, you might be like, this hasn't made a single bit of impact to my life.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing no physical, emotional, whatever the gain is, I'm seeing none of it. But then day 31, suddenly something clicks and happens, and you go through this kind of barrier. And it's like every run that you're doing, whether it's a zone 2 run to get your heart rate to a certain level, to build that base fitness, you then, that day 31, you've gone on a tempo run where you're doing a speed that you wouldn't have thought would be imaginable.
Yeah.
But then you're able to do it. That's breaking through that barrier, and it gives you almost like that new lease. And if you were to look at it like a graph, you go like this, but then you can't really see it, and then you kind of teeter on the edge of like giving up, and then something happens and you go up again. It's like leveling up those spikes.
It's like a J cut almost. Like a J curve they call it. Like you literally don't see any gains whatsoever. Then one day all the gains happen at once.
Yeah.
That's pretty much how most things in life happen. Like, you know, it's not do the work, get an immediate result. It generally is like do the work, nothing's happening. You have to kind of just stick at it for a weird amount of time. Same everything. I think with fitness is one of those things that you actually seem to like. The results aren't in 6 months' time or a year's time. You do see them. They do just lag behind the effort.
Yeah.
The fastest thing you ever see results is weight loss.
Yeah.
Because that you can literally within a week set your calories. Like right now, I'm going to a cart to drop it away, and like from when I went in last week to now, it's like I'm 1.5 kilos down.
Well, this is the thing,
because it's an instant thing of like the thing.
Yeah.
It's the most easy return of effort. It's like I've just spent 7 days like not eating like a pig, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, cool, like it's moving in the right direction. You get a positive feedback loop. With running's hard. Running's hard because again, it's a good month or so after you start really putting that work in, you actually start to see it. And it does happen at one point, but I think with fitness, one of those things that you do have to have an element of patience with it. Especially running is a patient man's game.
Yeah, the thing I'm most kind of like get frustrated by with running, and this is something as someone who grew up an overweight like teenager and child, always dealt with that body image issue. And I said it to Izzy when I did a podcast with her, I still don't see myself in good shape. And a lot of people would look at me and go, yeah, you're probably right, he's a bit fucking built like a bag of milk. But also at the same time, a lot of people probably look at me, bro, and go like, hey, he's in good nick, like he does marathons and that. But then also I have that self thing where I'm going, no, I know for a fact for my frame and for my adaptation to like putting on muscle and like how my body reacts to exercise, I should be in a lot better shape. But I really struggle to do so when I'm running because I'm constantly in this fear parrot, like this fear kind of loop of like, am I eating enough? If I don't eat enough, I'm going to get injured. And it's like fighting that kind of balance of being like, right, I'm going to live healthy, but also eat enough. And it's like, that takes time and effort. And it's something that I'm not putting the time and effort into. Yeah,
I completely get you that. It's something I struggle from. I put weight, when I'm in a training block, I put weight on. So I started the training block for this in like February. I was about 96 kilos. I then after post race I weighed in about 102. So like I put weight on through it. And that's putting about half a kilo on of weight per month is a sign that I'm eating just enough for surplus. I'm fully recovering from my sessions. And then I'll go through a period now where I'll pull that weight back down to like 95 kilos. And I'll do 2 months of like focusing on pulling weight back in, strength training, eating deficit. and lose that weight off again.
So what would you say is the key for you on a cut? Are you strength training or are you focusing on cardio? What is it you're doing during that cut? I'm just very interested to hear personally.
Through a cut is 100% nutrition.
Yeah.
So literally, you don't have to train to doing a cut. It helps. Weight training helps because you want to maintain the muscle you've got, and you want to maintain to make sure you're not losing any muscle mass. Yeah. So by training your muscles, makes you hitting working sets on all your muscle groups. That helps maintain. That helps you hold on to muscle mass, and your body's losing fat. You need to be in deficit. So best way to help elicit that is walking more, moving more. So tracking calories. And obviously changing what you're eating rather than just eating less of what you're already eating now. That's difficult because you're eating an amount that gets you to a point of fullness. For me, it's like I'll massively increase my vegetable intake, my fiber intake. Obviously it goes hand in hand. A lot of fiber, vegetables mostly fibrous. Lean protein, and then I'll set my calories at like 2,800 works for me, and I can then weight train once a day and 4 times a week hit some cardio in there.
When you're eating a surplus, what's your calories?
5,000-6,000 calories a day.
Mate, that's insane.
But if I'm training 3-4 hours a day, I need to eat that much in there. And like that for me, I'm not gaining much weight. I'm slowly gaining a little bit of weight.
Okay.
The only downside is like I'll go at the start of a training block, I'll be like lean and really diced, and then towards the end of it, when I compete, I'm just not as lean.
You feel a bit frumpy and a bit.
I feel a bit frumpy, which is weird because like I'm still around like a 10-12% body fat, which is absolutely fine to be at. But it's also like I've just when you've recently been leaner and I've got like pictures and videos when I'm a bit leaner, I look at that and I'm like, oh damn, I've let myself go. But actually I haven't. I've gotten fitter over a training block, and actually I've taken on a lot of food nutrition. Like being super lean isn't like that healthy for recovery for cardio. Like when I did my last DEXA scan, they were like, if you're like 8% is by do not be going any lower than this. I know a lot of runners who struggle with that because they are lower than 8% of body fat, and it massively affects your recovery. You need a certain amount of body fat on you to recover. It's.
Would you say that's probably why I've been quite lucky with injuries?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I've got a high body fat.
Yeah, it definitely helps. It helps with having more fatty system does help with recovery. It obviously, like, you want to be at a certain, if you're trying to really go for speed and times, you want to then look at things like your racing weight, like what are you holding on to weight wise, going into that. But that's a real like top 1-2% sort of thing there. A really good book. It's called Racing Weight, which really helped me get through it. Whereas like you need to be making sure you're obviously fueling your sessions, but also to make sure you're not gaining, because as the more you train, you get massive amounts of hunger coming in.
Mate, my appetite goes feral.
Yeah, 100%. So one thing I don't do a lot of is I don't do a lot of running when I'm trying to lose weight. When I'm trying to lose weight and drop body fat, I'll probably do 3 sessions a week. Not really a long run because I don't want to be doing any session more than 90 minutes. I'll probably do maybe a 90-minute session, one easy run and an interval session. And I'll maybe do some light cardio on the bike, 45 minutes a day. Yeah. But the most of it will be walking, because walking doesn't increase your hunger levels. But it's a great way to, you can, get 10, 15,000 steps in a day. Great. So you're improving your energy output. Like, you burn more calories through moving and walking every day than you do from going to the gym, lifting weights. Lifting weights doesn't burn that many calories. It just helps you hold on to that muscle mass. Yeah. And, again, because you're going to lose the weight anyway, you want to make sure that's coming off as body fat rather than muscle there. But it's all very number-driven, data-driven. And again, like, you see a pretty instant turnaround on that. I weigh in once a week. I'll do a photo, and then same lighting, same time of day photo, weigh in myself, keep track of it all. And then it literally is like, I look at a chart over the course of like 6 weeks. It's like basically dropping a kilo a week. Yeah. And I'm like, cool. And then all of a sudden I get really lean. I'm like, okay, this is great. And then I go, right, I've got to this point now. Now I'll start training now for like something on the running side of things. I'll do more running, because when you are running, you do not want to be in a deficit when you're running. You can get the risk of injury. Like the amount of people who get stress fractures. Yeah, stress fractures come from not fueling yourself properly. Your bones are weaker. Like, you need a certain amount of carbs in your system to recover from training. Like, if you're training for a marathon, training for a marathon is a terrible way to lose weight. Yeah, it's a great way to get better at running a marathon.
A lot of people don't realize that. Yeah, they expect someone who's training for a big event like that to just be in amazing shape. No, so the pros, they have a constant battle of training really hard, recovering really well, but not gaining weight. So they're playing the real fine game where everything's measured, everything's managed, because they're not just going out and binging, like smashing the food down because hungry. But no, everything's measured. Yeah. And because they have to eat enough to recover, but not enough to be gaining weight. Whereas for me, I'm like, I will rather just, it's easy for me to gain like half a kilo of weight per month. At least that way I know I'm in a slight surplus. I'm not bidding myself off from recovery, and I'm fine doing that because, again, it's like a little bit. It's not that much weight adding on.
but also know that I'm going to be well recovered. Also means like coming out of events like Last Man Standing, running 102 miles, I'm not coming out of that injured.
Yeah.
You know, I trained legs for the first time.
For sure.
Like yesterday, that's like 9 days post race, training legs again. And I felt fine.
That's so good, man.
So that's
built different.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not the slightest at all. I just, I take this stuff seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
And I take my nutrition seriously, and that's what it comes down to. Other side, when I finished the last challenge last year, I couldn't train legs like 6 weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
So I was in the absolute bin. But it all comes down to difference there. So I think with most people's issues when it comes to running, especially thinking it's going to lose them weight, it's the other way around. Your hunger levels are going up. So whenever I'm losing weight, I don't really run that much because running is like, whilst you do burn a lot of calories doing it, your hunger levels go to a point where I've had days before where I must have done 10,000 calories and I'm still hungry because I just want to eat more and more and more. Yeah. And that's the thing. Like hunger is one of those things that like, if you start training hard, you're never not hungry.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, even training for this half Ironman, I'm like, my appetite is crazy, bro. And I'm trying to really toe that line because I actually don't want to put on any weight. I just want to kind of like stay where I am and maybe like put on muscle. That's cool. Hopefully in the process, but it's not really possible to lose fat. I don't know. I'm still trying to work it all out. But the final thing I wanted to ask you, I asked Gabriel this when I had him on.
Yeah, go for it.
Have you got any big predictions for the fitness space over the next year? So, and let's go to the end of the calendar year. We're halfway through the year now. His, for context, Gabriel's were fast fashion in running. So, like people like Zara, H&M producing running clobber. Zara produced the carbon plated trainer.
I saw that. Does anyone know if it's good or not?
I've not tried it. No.
Okay.
But you see him on TikTok shop and shit. I can't even. Let's not even.
Don't buy your running shoes from TikTok shop. Is my piece
surely
of advice
that's
there.
self-explanatory, guys.
Yeah.
Like anyway,
I saw someone did a race. My mate Isaiah in America. He did he ran the.
Isaiah.
Yeah, he ran the Zurich Marathon in like $12 Temu carbon plate shoes.
Did he get injured?
He says the worst thing he's ever done. His feet were banged up after that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, spend money on shoes.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Couldn't be anything worse.
Predictions. Ooh, okay.
It could be anything, man. It could be like from Hyrox to weightlifting or whatever.
Hyrox going to fall off.
So I saw an interesting TikTok regarding this. I was kind of hoping you'd bring Hyrox up.
There's this. Okay, controversial opinion. I think Hyrox is awesome. What it started out as of getting people from a community perspective to train in a more functional manner.
Yeah.
Like my sister, who'd never really trained before, lost a bunch of weight, started training with the community, competing at Hyrox, and I'm actually so thankful for Hyrox existed for that sense there. Yeah. I think it's become its own thing. Like I wouldn't say it was a sport; it's a style of competition. It's a privately owned business that charge people lots of money to do so, and they keep charging people a lot more money now. It costs 40 quid to go and watch it. Like, listen, like I love my sister. I ain't spending 40 quid to go watch her run around in a conference center.
I think if you're a person that's doing the event, you should get 2 guest passes with your ticket.
100%. 100%. If you're spending that much money to do the competition,
100 quid by the way.
You should. Is that 100 quid now?
When Izzy and I did mixed doubles, it was 125 each. I think.
Each.
I think so.
That's so much.
I think so. Genuinely, I could be wrong here.
Okay.
But I think it was around that.
Yeah. See, I like the fact that it's getting people to do setting people standards to train for something, have an aim to go for something with a functional training thing. It makes because not a lot of people actually just want to sit in a gym and lift weights.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm kind of like that.
Okay,
I'm yet to fall in love with it.
It's my favorite thing to do in the world.
Yeah, I love to like it. Man.
I love sitting there lifting weights. Honestly, I'll do that to the day I die. Whereas like. I think it's not for everyone, and some people need a bit more stimulus and a bit more of a community aspect around it. And I absolutely love that. And like, I think it's a really cool thing. It's now gotten to a point where I think my understanding of it is they're trying to raise further money and like another round of fundraising. So they're trying to jack up.
We've seen the same TikTok then.
No.
Have you not seen a TikTok?
No.
So I watched a TikTok literally like an hour before you got here.
Oh, sweet.
And this guy talking about how he thinks that they're trying to raise more funding to basically elevate the price of Hyrox essentially, and it's worth because they're introducing the tiered thing. So like ticketing demand. So for example, with Hackney Half, by the time I got in when the portal opened, by the time I got on, my ticket was 75 quid for next year, which is insane for a half marathon, by the way.
Yeah,
but I still paid it anyway because I'm not missing Hackney Half.
Yeah,
but the fact is, the later you get on, the more expensive your ticket is, and apparently Hyrox are now going to be doing that.
Okay, things like that is basically profit maximization on like the model they've got, which again, like from like looking at things from like an investor standpoint, like they are trying to jack the valuation of that business up as much as possible so that they can either have a bit more of an exit on them or raise further funds. There's a whole host of reasons why they'd necessarily want to do that. But it looks like their priority then isn't the well-being of the community. The priority then is what is the valuation of this business? Because Hyrox is not it's a business, it's a private business. You can't tomorrow go, right, I'm going to set up a new fitness competition. It's exactly like Hyrox.
No.
You can't do that. So therefore, like, it's its own thing, which is fair enough because they started as a community first, like, and I love that. But again, it's like, where does it toe the line? Because also they're a business. They have to be profitable, like 100%. Like, you wouldn't want them to be losing money because that wouldn't be around very long. And there, it just comes down to where's the line between taking the piss out of their community and support base. Because eventually some people are going to go, well, I'm not going to pay 125 quid to go to the XL arena.
Yeah.
Like, and also not going to want my family to pay 40 quid to go watch me do this thing. Like, it gets to a point where people just go, that's actually a bit too much. And enough people all go at the same time and go, actually, that's, I feel like I'm being a bit, where does the value for money lie in that sense? But then, then you can say the same for like things like Hackney Half. Like, I know that it's all based on supply and demand, right? I completely get that.
Yeah.
But also, when so many people want to try and do something, it gets, then you got to look at things like maybe like how London Marathon did. Do Hyrox start doing things on like on a ballot?
Yeah, I mean they did the XL on a ballot.
Was that on a ballot?
When I went, it was a ballot because I got in.
I take my words back.
And obviously, like Izzy, I told Izzy I've entered us.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, whatever. Like it was a raffle.
Yeah.
And then I got the tickets, and she was like,
sick.
fuck off. Like I'm annoyed.
Oh no. but then there was 125 quid.
Yeah, it's still
okay, right.
Yeah.
Which I get.
Yeah.
I understand that there, but it's like, yeah, it's also I don't want to hate on people doing it because I think it's an awesome thing to do. I think it's really hard to do as well. Like you did it.
It's hard, bro.
So hard.
I think that's a lot of people slate it and think there's some like really poncy thing, and it just isn't.
No, it's
like,
not.
It's tough.
1 kilometer runs are hard. Like doing 1K intervals, then in between that you're doing these other exercises. Like I get it. It's not an easy thing to do.
Like the sacrifice someone like Jake Dearden makes in his life to achieve success in that event is insane. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%.
It's like training like an elite runner.
Yeah. No, 100%. He's and like I think from looking at elite perspective, the guys who are the top end of Hyrox are that's why records keep getting broken constantly because those guys are pushing it so hard. And like that I rate hard. I can't ever knock anyone pushing themselves that hard under there. Yeah. It's just a case of like for my sort of gripe with it is more like the ripping off of people.
Okay.
And that's the thing I always find, like, the cool thing about running is running's free.
Yeah.
I like running because, you put your shoes on. I started running properly throughout COVID. There was no races or events on. So the first 2 years, I never got into running the idea of, like, ever running a race. I was like, now I'm going to do this thing that I like to do. And, like, there was no pressure to run a marathon, run a race, run anything. And then I've been very fortunate enough to be, like, obviously getting access to certain races I don't have to necessarily pay for. But there's a period where I had to, like, pay for the race and marathon I was doing. And, like, this is before things really started taking off in running, where, like, I remember paying for, like, marathons, like, 40 quid.
Yeah.
Weren't expensive. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. What I don't want to see is running or any sort of fitness like that is like, it's then priced out. That's why I think ballots are such a good thing because it gives more of a fairer chance for everyone to have access to it, but then still not charging someone a ridiculous price for it.
Yeah.
Like, I think the beautiful thing about running is the idea is accessible, and accessibility in sport has got to be a priority. So when all of a sudden a sport's no longer accessible and you have to travel with travel costs, with entry fees, with spectator costs, all these sort of things they're stacking up. All of a sudden, you're talking £500-600 or something here. It's like, well, wait a minute, like that's not accessible for most people to then drop on a hobby that's fitness. Because fitness, you've got to pay for your gym membership. You got to buy running shoes. Like all these things do start to add up. That's why I do like about running. That's why I think parkrun's awesome or run club's awesome because they're free to go to. Yeah. Shout out your run club, shout out my run club. And there we are.
You, man.
I think that's what a really core fundamental part of fitness is a way to bring people together and not isolate people through financial barriers.
Yeah,
I think that's why running is such that's why so many people around the world run. Doesn't matter if from growing up in abstract poverty somewhere, in Africa or other parts of the world, or in the UK, like everyone can run. That's what I think is a wonderful thing about it, and it's in such an inclusive sport. And I think financial reason should never be a reason for people to be isolated from a sport.
Well, that's led me on nicely to my triathlon thoughts because obviously
God,
I've
been training. Pay for that.
Well, this is the thing. So we go into kind of pricing out of an event, and I just want to start off by saying I have so much respect for triathletes because the dedication that is needed in your life, both physically, mentally, and financially, is abysmal. So I just want to kind of run you through what I've spent so far.
Go for it.
I've got a notes page in my phone of everything that I've spent for my half Ironman. And bear in mind, I am currently, as of time of recording this, it is the 4th of June, and the event's in about 6 weeks. So my entry to Luxembourg 70.3 was £428. Okay? £428, and it's overseas. And by the way, I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to afford this, and I've saved up money from content creation that's allowed me to reinvest it to do an event like this. This is not something that everyone can do, okay? Fortunate enough, again, to have a social presence, so I got a discount on my bike. My bike was still £1,850, £1,850.
Yeah.
I got a good discount on that bike.
Yeah.
But obviously, I didn't need to go that top level, but I was like, I'd rather work with a bike brand and bring them on that journey with me. So thank you to Swift, absolute legends. Ricardo, you're a G. Turbo Trainer, which I'm yet to use with success, £350. Bought that secondhand. It was refurbished from Wahoo.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Accommodation, me, Izzy, and the videographer coming out with me.
Yeah.
For Friday to Monday, £475.
Okay.
Could be worse.
Could be worse. I was thinking it'd be a lot more there.
City centre apartment with 2 bedrooms.
Nice. There was me thinking you were going to share 1 bedroom.
Yeah. Well, it's got 3 beds in the main bedroom, but there's also a sofa bed.
Okay.
So
nice.
he's got the sofa bed.
Fair.
And then we've got travel. So my dad's lending me his car.
Drive down,
and
nice.
Driving. It's costing me 246 total for the
Yep.
crossings. Fuel, I haven't yet worked out the costing of it. And then price of spent on kit so far. So that is bibs, swim kit,
Yep.
all of that stuff. I'm
Sweet.
fortunate again to have a lot of stuff gifted to me. Still spent £223.
Yeah, that ain't a cheap
So
score, is it?
you can do the maths. I haven't added it all up yet, but there's a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's as well from me being in an incredibly privileged position.
Yeah.
That's like being a kid and going go-karting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. Like it's again barriers to entry to certain sports. There, like that's why. Again, I rate the fact that like my mate in Luke in Texas he's smashing Ironman
What
at
a
the
fucking
moment.
legend, by the way. Luke Hopkins, he's a G.
Unbelievable boy. He absolutely crushes it. But also
Yeah.
like it's fucking expensive, man.
Yeah.
And it's like the discipline you need to be good at, like not even great, to be good at doing like 70.3s or full Ironmans, like it's such a hard thing to do. Like cross over the disciplines, it's so time consuming, it's so energy zapping, it's such a hard thing to do. And then on top of it, it's expensive as well.
Yeah.
Like it is a real difficult thing, but it is a commitment.
Yeah.
It requires you to be committed because you have to financially commit to it.
Yeah.
And that is a real tough thing. It's almost like you can't like half do this sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You're in it now. You've got these things. You've invested into them now. It's like, okay, well, over the next 5 years?
Yeah, I'll get a worth out of that bike for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so you said about Hyrox potentially falling off the face of a cliff.
I think
my
take of Hyrox, there's going to be more pushback for them overcharging for events, and less people are going to go. People are going to go.
People are going to have enough. They're going to have
enough.
Yeah. Any other takes?
No, Hyrox dropping off there, and I see the trend of running is still increasing. I think more people are going to enter races, more people are going to run marathons. That's not going to stop for a fair while. Yeah. I think it's on an upward spiral still, and it's still fulfilling because they're awesome things to do, and like more people want to do them, and like it all legs on there. And I think I only think now people are just realizing how. Because the more people that do it, the more people see it, and the more people want to be brought into it. And there's still so many people that don't run. Yeah. There's still so many people who don't actually fitness isn't that important for them.
For sure.
And for a long period of time, fitness wasn't that important for me. And I saw the benefits from that. And when I got into it, and my life has completely changed from when I wasn't someone who took my fitness very seriously to now. And there are so many people, I think, who are going to go through that transformation and lead better, more positive, healthy lives.
For sure, man.
And I think what we live now, where we can see so much more, connect with more people, that's only going to increase as well.
Absolutely, man. Jonny, it's been an absolute pleasure. First episode of the new era, brother.
Sorted. Nice one, mate.
Wicked. Thank you so much for coming on. In terms of release, every Thursday, it will be normal time, 5 p.m. Thursday, YouTube, audio platforms, all that good stuff. Motional Intelligence pod at gmail.com if you want to get in touch with me. Send me over who you want to see on this pod. Like, just let me know. Look, obviously for me, this is just such a great outlet for me to chat to people like Jonny, where I have so much intrigue and passion towards the world that they're in, and kind of being that voice for you lot who are listening, who are viewing content every single day on social media and hearing from these incredible people, athletes, whoever they may be. But yeah, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being back. I'm excited to be here, and look forward to catching you next week. Take care.